This video is brought to you by Hit Point Press. Battle the terrible darkness that has come to the forest in the new Sourcebook, Adventure Campaign, and Bestiary, Seeds of Decay on Kickstarter now. And by Steamforged Games and their Epic Encounters series. Each box features a complete adventure with minis, maps, and a module. Use our link below the video to see all the Epic Encounter adventures. Hello and welcome to the Gallant Goblin. Okay, it is the end of the year. I can't believe it. And during this year, a few reviews slipped through the cracks with everything going on, so December is going to be my month of trying to play catch-up. One of those reviews is this, the Shadowy Silver Edition of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft by Beadle Grimm. I did do a live unboxing of it over on Twitch, but we haven't made a full YouTube review until now. But I feel like it's a pretty good time for it because we're on the verge of the release of the Ravenloft mini set from WizKids. So the adventure is in our collective minds right now. You can see our unboxing of a brick of the minis in the eye in the corner of your screen right now. This set from Beadle Grimm gives you all sorts of fun stuff to make your adventures in Ravenloft even better. And this set is still available. So now is the time. If you like to bling out your games, you can get this box, get yourself some Ravenloft minis from WizKids, and go have some creepy adventures. Before we jump in though, a quick DM's Guild rec. Remember to use our links and the discount code below. Today, a little something different. If you are playing Curse of Strahd in person, the boxes from Beadle Grimm will give you awesome maps to use, but if you're playing online, you may want Castle Ravenloft high-res color JPEG maps by G. Jensen. This package gives you a gridded and ungridded map of each floor of the castle with 5-foot squares ready to use in your virtual tabletop of choice. If you're playing online, this should greatly improve your games. Check it out using our link below and the code HaroldGoblin5. And now, let's see what old Beadle Grimm have for us today. First of all, the box itself has 4 different variants based on the various marks of horror in the book. You can choose between body horror, symbolized by the eyeballs, which is the version that we got. There's folk horror with our goat friend here, cosmic horror with the tentacles, and gothic horror with the rose and fangs. At the time of this recording, it looks like the rose and fangs box has sold out. The only difference in the boxes, though, is that symbol on the cover. They have all the same contents inside. Inside the box, you'll find 5 double-sided poster-sized battle maps, 5 pre-generated characters, 40 encounter cards, 3 pieces of hardware, a folder with player handout maps of the Domains of Dread, 1 spirit board poster, 3 smaller map reference sheets, the Ravenloft book split into 4 booklets, 7 unique in-world documents, the table of contents, 4 bonus adventures combined into a small booklet, and about 63 pieces of art, if I counted correctly. Let's start with the book. As always, you get the full book, in this case Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, broken out into smaller booklets for ease of use. Book 1 contains chapters 1 and 2, that's character creation and creating Domains of Dread, respectively. You can let your players peruse chapter 1 as they create their characters. The second book here has chapter 3, the Domains of Ravenloft, A through I, and the third book has the rest of chapter 3. And the last book here contains Chapter 4, Horror Adventures, and Chapter 5, Monsters of Ravenloft. This is the book with the House of Lament adventure in it. And finally, this is your welcome letter and your table of contents. It looks like this. And you're going to want to have this handy to make use of and identify everything that comes in this box. So kind of keep it handy when you're running through the adventure because you're going to want to reference it as you play and as you're planning out your adventures. But now let's talk about all the cool hardware. First, we have the Amulet of the Raven here. This is designed by Beadle Grimm and Han Cholo. It is a nice, chunky metal necklace with a 23-inch chain and a lobster clasp. You can use it in the game as a mist talisman, which is a non-magical item that resonates with the frequency of a Domain of Dread, allowing you to navigate using it through the mists. It's rather like a tuning fork that you might use for a plane shift spell. Mist talismans can take on any shape, but this is a pretty great one. If you are using the Mist Wanderer background feature, by the way, this is probably a fun thing for that character and player to wear while they're doing it. It could also be worn by one of the various were-ravens in the Curse of Strahd adventure or in Van Richten's Guide, and you could probably use it in the Book of the Raven chapter of Candlekeep Mysteries as well. I am really regretting not using it as part of my Halloween costume this year, actually. Next, we have the Ring of Osibus with a skull surrounded by a skeletal Ouroboros. These are worn by priests of Osibus, who are a group of necromancers in Ravenloft. You can use this in the House of Lament adventure, where an amulet of Osibus is found in Area 21. Now, they decided to make this a ring instead of an amulet because the ring was cooler, and they already had an amulet in the set. Priests of Osibus show up in several adventures, so feel free to use this with any of them, but the ring is generic enough that you can use it for any sort of necromancer or bad guy you want. You get nice stuff like this, find a way to use it in multiple adventures. And the last and arguably best piece of hardware is the planchette, also for use in the House of Lament adventure. They also printed up the spirit board to go along with it. The spirit board is 24 by 30 inches, as you can see here. This is an adventure where you actually conduct some seances with your party in the House of Lament. It's pretty fantastic. And with these nice props, you should be able to make an adventure that they are always going to remember. Get some good candles, some lighting, get some good sound effects, maybe through Sirenscape, or maybe just play some moody music. Just have a ton of fun with it. Now let's talk about the in-world documents or handouts, which are always a highlight for me. This time we get 7, all designed by Alan Aziz. The first one is kind of my favorite. We get these wine labels. 3 of them are for Purple Grape Mash, number 3, and 3 of them are for Ludendorff Arsenic Wine, both of which show up in the House of Lament adventure. You may also recognize Purple Grape Mash number 3 from Curse of Strahd. If you are playing Curse of Strahd, definitely make use of these. Get yourself a nice bottle of wine, use some Goo Gone or hot water to take off that original label, and then apply these. Just fill up the bottle with whatever wine you're drinking that night and add a little bit more flavor to your games. Just try to keep the outside of the bottle dry when you wash it so you can keep the label fresh as long as possible. Next, we have a set of documents that can be discovered by the characters in the House of Lament adventure, namely Lauren Halvrest's will, his death certificate, and the deed to his house. In this adventure, the characters are investigating the strange haunting of Halvrest Manor, and these documents will help fill out that story. These documents are pretty great. They're basically forms that have spaces for the professional to write in the pertinent little details, and everything is already filled out on the documents, with the exception of a few cases, the exact date, and a couple of other little details. And the house deed here comes rolled up with twine, and you can unwrap it and see it like this. Very nice little document. And next we have a little note. Oh, there it goes. A little note here that my kobold is holding that you can find in the adventure. It's written by a particular little sculptor, and it can be found inside, make sure it's not upside down, there we go. It can be found inside a hollow statue in Area 4 of the adventure, which is the gallery. And this is another little clue as to what's going on in the adventure. And the last document is part of the Beadle Grimm's adventure that they included, so we're going to talk about that one when we get to it. Now let's talk about our pre-generated characters. These are great for folks who just want to jump right into the adventure without having to spend the time making a character that fits into the setting. And it's especially helpful for new players. And these make great use of the new player options presented in the book. Each character sheet gives you everything you need to run a character at first level. You get a brief background for the character that you can expand upon with your GM, a few quotes to get a sense of their personality, and an inventory list, which usually includes something a little special. First, we have Franklin Gravecaller, the reborn barbarian with the Haunted One background. The Reborn are a new race in Ravenloft, and they can take several different kinds of forms. Franklin is a sort of Frankenstein's monster stitched together from parts. He comes with a brooch of absorption to heal from lightning damage once a day, which fits that character pretty perfectly. Next, we have Faustina Hasanova, the Dhampir rogue with the investigator background. Dhampir is another new race in the book, basically living creatures with some vampire traits. Faustina is basically Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a cursed vamp who hunts even darker creatures of the night. She comes with 2 potions of healing. Next we have Carabas, the human warlock with a Pact of the Undead and the Acolyte background. Carabas was always fascinated by the intersection of life and death, and now finds himself living there. He also comes with a Dark Gift, which is another fun little addition to character creation included in this book. He has the Mistwalker gift, which gives him the Misty Step spell and the ability to travel to new domains through the mists without having to have a mist talisman. But he can't stay in any one place for too long without it siphoning the life out of him. And he uses the new Pact of the Undead Warlock subclass option. And then we have Nebet Ob, the human cleric of Anu of the Death Domain and with the noble background. Nebet also has a dark gift, the Touch of Death. Like Rogue from the X-Men, Nebet can't touch people without causing them harm, which can be helpful in some situations, but also makes her a terrible hugger. The Death Domain is one of the core cleric subclasses, in case you were wondering about that. And finally, we have Margaret Swamptooth. Sounds like a hag name, doesn't it? Well, Maggie here is a Hexblood druid, Hexblood being another new race in the book, a hag spawn, essentially. Maggie was born in the swamps of Barovia to Baba Yaga, making her a sister of Tasha. But Margaret wants nothing more than to spread happiness with her puppet plays. It seems like it would be an interesting character for Wild Beyond the Witchlight as well. She comes with a potion of poison. They've pulled, I think, all the pieces of art from the original book and placed them on little sheets like this so you can more easily share them with your players by plopping them down on your GM screen like that. They've also made a couple of vertical pieces this time, so it's slightly trickier to show them off because you can't just plop them down on your screen, but you can pretty easily just place them up there in front of it, kind of laying them back. And it works pretty well. You can also use little clips like this. And you can, if you want to not hide anything on your DM screen, you can just clip it onto the top like that, and then you're not blocking anything that you need to see on the back of the screen. You can find these clips on our Amazon gift guide at gallongoblin.com/Amazon. And the back of each piece of art gives you the title, the artist, and where it can be found in the included adventure. If I counted correctly, we have 52 total pieces of horizontal art and 11 vertical pieces. These also include 6 pieces of completely original art for this adventure, 2 pieces for the House of Lament adventure, and 4 for the bonus encounters. Another thing worth mentioning here is this little box insert of a raven feather. I don't think it has any inherent gameplay mechanics, but it's just a cool little addition to the box. We also get 40 new encounter cards, a staple in the Beadle and Grimm's boxes now. You can place these over your GM screen to show off all the monster or NPC art to your players, while on the back, you have access to all the information you need, the stat blocks and the role-playing info, so you can play these characters. And one awesome innovation in this edition is that when you're going through the included adventure, certain creature names will be written in bold, dark red type. When you see that, it means that you have an encounter card that you can use. I have been wanting this for such a long time, and it is so great to see it. The hardest thing about running these boxes with so much great stuffs is remembering what stuffs you have. So I've been wanting some little annotations or something in the adventure to make it easier, and now we have it. Here we have all the encounter cards in the set. As always, they're made of nice thick cardstock, so they should be pretty robust. I am still waiting though for maybe a nice organized big box to compile all the cards from all the Beadle and Grimm's boxes together. In case you haven't noticed, I like nothing more than organized storage boxes. This handy-dandy little folder contains maps of the various domains of dread. Just make sure there aren't any places on the map that you don't want your players to see before you hand them out, though they mostly just contain the major landmarks. The maps are the same ones that are printed in the book, and there is space on the back, as you can see, to write some little notes. We get, and forgive my pronunciation because this is going to be a mess, Kartakas, Barovia, Kalikari here, Tempest, Valachan, Mordant, and, make sure I get this one correct, right like that, Rishmulo. And let me go ahead and switch these out and show you what's on the other side. All right, on this side, we have, make sure I do this one correctly, Dementlu, and this is this way, Harakir, and Falkovnia, Haslon, Borka, Lamordia, and Darkon. Okay, let's talk about the coolest addition to the box, the bonus adventures, not encounters, adventures. This time they've done something new. In most B&G boxes, the bonus encounters are designed to flesh out a part of the pre-existing adventure that might need it, or just to have a little fun in a side quest. They're usually like 2 to 3 pages long. This time, they have 4 standalone little adventures about 8 pages long each that they've strung together in a loose plot that can be run as a little campaign after you finish the House of Lament adventure. And by the end, you should be around 8th level or so and ready to go to Barovia Barovia to fight Strahd, but you can just run them as standalone adventures if you want. The adventures also feature some great original art and maps. For the overarching meta plot, in Dread Tales from the Warehouse, right here, a were-raven tasks you with traveling to 4 different domains of dread to retrieve 4 missed talismans. The were-raven's identity and motivations are left up to you, but there are some rolling tables to give you some ideas to get started. And at the end, the PCs earn some cash money and a nice amulet, maybe that Raven amulet from earlier, and among its powers is the ability to transport the party to Barovia to, presumably, confront Strahd. The first adventure is Assault on Granary 13 by Beadle Grimm's own Bill Rahor, an adventure for 4th level characters. In this adventure, the PCs find themselves in the zombie wastelands of Falkovnia, where they are tasked with investigating the collapse of the town's granary some 5 miles outside the city. I don't want to give out too many spoilers, but this adventure definitely has a Walking Dead vibe to it. This one makes use of the mill site map here for some important encounters. This is, of course, an original map for this adventure, and the booklet gives you the key for what's located in each area of the mill map. In addition to the fallen granary, you've got the mess hall, the barracks, a storage shed, and a funeral pyre, among other areas. You also get this smaller map of a crevasse where several of the workers are still trapped. And the scenario makes use of this little handout here, the supply ledger, which is honestly one of the best handouts in the set. It's on this nice crumpled paper. I love it. The next adventure is for 5th level characters, and it's called Lucas's Bite by John Ciccolini. The adventure takes place in the domain of Cartacus, which is basically America's Got Talent from hell. In this adventure, the characters are tasked with being the bodyguards at a hellish singing competition where, as you can imagine, things go awfully wrong. And it features this map of the Taverna, which is a wee bit small to use with minis. The squares here are about ½ an inch across instead of 1 inch, so you may be able to blow it up with a copy machine to about 2 times if you do want to use it on your table with minis. This little adventure, though, has a lot of great moments and does a wonderful job of shaking up the dark tone of the usual Ravenloft adventures. After that is Wayward Child for 6th level characters by Charlie Rahor. This adventure takes place in the alien domain of Blutspur, and it uses the included laboratory map here, and it's more a reference sheet really, and a few pieces of bonus art. And this map really is too small to use on your table for minis, but it is a good reference for drawing a larger version. I really don't want to give too much away about this particular adventure, as it really is right up my alley, but I'm going to read you this pitch line from it. The characters discover the wreckage of a mind flayer laboratory used to conduct cloning experiments on outsiders in blind obedience to the God Brain and his mad plans. And if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. This one also has some great twists if you're brave enough to go through with them, but I'll leave all of that for you to discover. And finally, we have The Tomb of Tasktali by the notorious Justice Armand for 7th level characters, which takes place in Har Akir, the Egyptian-themed domain. This adventure also comes with a bonus map to use, namely The Tomb. This is a classic tomb raiding adventure with mummy fights, riddles, traps, and cursed treasures. I love that Beadle Grimm's gave us basically a full campaign to run in Ravenloft since we didn't get one from Wizards of the Coast. The overarching story premise still requires you as a GM to flesh out the motivations and perhaps tie the characters' personal story arcs together with the main plot, and the adventures themselves are very much standalone. That's great in that every adventure has a completely different feel to it. You're going to always be keeping your players on their toes, but it does make crafting a full story with satisfying overall themes something that you're going to have to work on. Overall, I am super pleased with what they've done here, and I can't wait to see more of it. Let's talk about the other maps now, starting with the main attraction, the House of Lament. Once again, this is the starter adventure that comes with Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. First, let me show you what the map in the official book looks like. As you can see, it is very functional and plain. It's made to be easily reproduced by drawing on some graph paper or possibly even print it out if you have a way to do that. As usual, Beadle Grimm takes those maps and makes them much more colorful and thematic. So let's start with the first floor. So much more evocative. You can really see the purpose of each room, its flavor, the mood that it will instill in the players. Beadle Grimm takes not only the official map itself for inspiration, but also the text of the adventure. So you're getting more pertinent details than the official map even gives you. Now, in this adventure, at some point, the haunting in the house awakens, and new features appear in the house? Well, Beadle Grimm gives you a whole new version of each map to use for that. Here is the Awakened first floor. Some rooms have only subtle changes, and some have entirely new objects or spirits. I will leave all that for you to discover on your own. Here is the second floor of the estate. Another nice feature of these maps is that they're relatively generic. If you need a map of a noble's house for whatever reason, you can certainly reuse these. Maybe the party needs to break in to steal something. Maybe they're attending an important gala, or maybe the characters are wealthy enough to buy their own estate. And here is the second floor Awakened. The Awakened versions, of course, are a little bit more specific. It's a bit trickier to use these outside of a haunted house situation, but man, anytime I get nice supplies like this, I always look for ways to reuse them as much as possible. And here is our third floor map. When it comes to reusing maps, I definitely recommend keeping yourself a little spreadsheet of all the maps you have. Then, if you're readying an encounter, you can quickly see what maps you have available, because between Beadle Grimm's and the Epic Encounter series and a whole bunch of other sources, you can end up with a lot of random maps, and unless you catalog them, you're not going to remember that you have them when you need them. Here is the third floor Awakened. Again, the maps here are 24 by 30 inches and printed on nice matte finished paper stock. These House of Lament maps all use the standard 5-foot square scale. Now, the 3 floors of the house aren't the only places that you'll be adventuring in this module. You also have the basement and the Amber Cavity, which they've included on the same map here. The Amber Cavity itself is just full of things happening, potential character-changing events, lots of dark, creepy stuff, but it also contains some nice treasure, including the Deck of Illusions. And don't forget, you can get yourself a real animated one to give your players from our sponsor Hit Point Press, but we'll talk about that later. And that's not all for the House of Lament. This is quite an extensive adventure. You also have the Widow's Walk and the Tower Chamber. The Widow's Walk is a walkway along the roof of the house, which provides a commanding view of the estate. And the Tower Chamber here features a suit of crimson ringmail in the middle of the floor, in case you were wondering what that body-looking thing is. It lies on a pretty noteworthy chalk drawing, which I will let you learn more about yourself. You get an awakened and a dormant version of the Tower Chamber. So those are the maps included in the set, and don't forget the maps of the Blackmore family mill and the tomb from the included custom adventures, plus the spirit board, which isn't exactly a map, but it is printed on the same style of paper stock. The Silver Edition of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is still available at the link in the video description down below. You can pick it up for $185 while supplies last. We still have the legendary version of the Curse of Strahd to review with you as well, so be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. And since we last made a Beadle Grimm's video, they've announced so many new sets. We have Platinum and Silver editions of The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the Silver edition of Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, Tal'Dorei Reborn, which they're making with Darrington Press from the Critical Role folks, and the gold edition of Absalom's City of Lost Omens for Pathfinder, which I cannot wait to see. Be sure to check out the Beadle Grimm's website if you want to pre-order any of those, as they do often sell out before they've even shipped. Now let me tell you about Seeds of Decay, the new Kickstarter from our friends at Hit Point Press. A crack has formed in the darkness of the always green forest, leaking rot and decay. Trees are withering and crops are failing to mature. Strange, twisted creatures have been seen in the shadows. The Rot Weaver has returned. Will you save the forest from the spreading decay before it's too late? Seeds of Decay is a brand new adventure for levels 1 through 8 for 5e that will bring you into the dark, whimsical world of the Daubers. Enjoy fully illustrated quests with unique maps, NPCs, monsters, and more. Along with this awesome adventure comes over 60 unique and scalable monsters, as well as new magic items, spells, races, classes, and subclasses, and if that wasn't enough, a brand new system for building contraptions and tools. Check out the Seeds of Decay Kickstarter using the link in the eye in the corner of your screen right now or in the doohickey down below. And another perfect holiday gift is an Epic Encounter box from our buddies at Steamforged Games. Each box gives you everything you need to run an amazing and memorable 5e adventure. You get gorgeous minis, a beautiful double-sided adventure map, some tokens, and a thematic and engaging adventure book to guide you along the way. Great thing to have on the shelf for any DM, as the booklets come with adventure hooks so you can connect the various boxes to any of your ongoing campaigns, or just grab it for a fun one-shot one night when your buddies are over. You want dragons? They have dragons. You want hydras? They have hydras. You want the most epic frost giant you've ever seen before? They've got you covered. You want rampaging warflumps conquering the Underdark? Then tweet that at Steamforged Games, because I want that too. That's Epic Encounters. Check them out using our link below the video. And thank you for watching today. Be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. We have lots of fun videos coming up for Curse of Strahd minis and the Beadle Grimm's Legendary set, Ghosts of Saltmarsh minis, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft minis, Starfinder and Pathfinder books, and reference cards and all sorts of fun stuff. If you enjoyed today's video, leaving us a like helps us out a lot. You can sign up to be notified when we launch our Kobold Plush Kickstarter at koboldplush.com. Also, we'd love it if you came and joined our Discord server using the invitation below. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For now, stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.